McCarthy Insurance Group, serving the community for over 70 years. For home, farm, motor, life, health and business insurance, log on to mig.ie or free phone 1800 50 11 11. Probably your best call in 2024. Charles McCarthy Insurance is trading as McCarthy Insurance Group, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Real people, real opinions. Real Talk Radio. The multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.
We heard in the news the other day that employers are being urged to top up state maternity pay where they can afford to. Now, it's after a few new figures showing more than half the SMEs, the small business associations, surveyed in Ireland don't top up the payment when female staff are on maternity leave. A lot of them will say because they can't afford to. Now, in Ireland, maternity leave is right. An absolute right, and women are entitled to 26 weeks of maternity leave plus 16 weeks of unpaid leave. So compared to other countries such as the US, we allocate a significant amount of time for maternity leave. A pregnant woman is eligible for full maternity benefit, which is paid by the state, €262 per week for 26 weeks. If they already receive certain social welfare payments, such as a one-parent family payment, the woman is entitled to get a half-rate maternity benefit on top of that payment of $131 a week. So you don't even have to be working to get it. But that's not very much, is it? I mean, realistically, it's not enough to survive on, or if you had a mortgage. So you have to then consider having a child, financially. In Bulgaria, women will get 90% of their full salary for more than 58 weeks while on maternity leave, but that's not by their employer, that's by the state. Norway is similar in that women will get between 80 to 100% of their salary for 49 weeks. Again, that's by the state, as far as I know. And now it seems that employers are being asked, not legally obliged, mind you, to pay the difference in a woman's wage. But is it fair? If you own a small business, is it realistic that you pay for someone who is not there while also paying for their replacement, or temporary replacement, certainly? Should the entire burden not fall with the state, if that's what the state want to do, or they want to be that generous? Or maybe the burden should fall with the women themselves. The argument is maybe having a baby is something you should save up for, like a car or a house. You're the one who wants the baby, not the taxpayer. So, there are people listening today who will say or tonight and say, hold on a second, I'm a taxpayer. Why am I paying for someone else to have a baby? I don't want a bloody baby. Maybe it's a single bloke working, and why am I paying for her baby? Anyway, I get the gist of that. I understand why you would feel like that, although we all have a social obligation. If you want to start a family, surely you should have some savings to tide you over. Because I know a lot of people who did that before we even had this 262. You would plan to have a child. You'd say, okay, next year we'd be in a better situation. We won't go on a holiday. We've paid for the deposit in the house already. We have the mortgage. But look, if you do overtime and I take time off, we can just about afford it. Yeah, so they got to plan it. You know what I mean? Instead of just winging a prayer, you know what I mean? And hoping everybody else is going to pay for it. But many companies now, larger companies, can absorb it. And I know some larger companies at the moment who are currently paying full pay to women on maternity leave. And well, if that's what they want to do, well and good. But should that be a law? Should all companies be required to pay full pay to a woman while she's on maternity leave for 16 weeks or for 26 weeks? That's the question I want to know. Should businesses have to pay full pay to top up a woman's wages while she's on maternity leave?
You're listening to Nighttime Talk with Niall Boylan.
With Recruit.ie. Download our job search app today. Search for Recruit.ie in your smartphone app store.
Ireland's classic hits radio.
I love bringing on callers that I'm going to disagree with. Breda, hi, how are you?
Hi, Niall, how are you?
I think we're going to disagree on this one, but go on. Breda, do you believe the company or the state has a responsibility to pay the full wage to a woman for 26 weeks on maternity leave? Currently, they only get 260, whatever it is, 62. Do you think the company has a responsibility or a duty to pay?
Well, I think if it's a big company and they can absorb it, Niall, I don't see why not. But like when I had my lady at 40, I got 4 months maternity leave and we got a maternity payment while you were out on your maternity leave. But I had 9 months to plan it and save for it and put everything away.
But that's your responsibility. You decided to have your lady.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then we're agreeing.
Yeah, I actually agree with you, Niall.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, so
Imagine that.
I thought you were going to demand that every company has to pay. I mean, there are some larger companies that will pay. By the way, I don't personally believe that larger companies should have to pay if they don't want to either. I mean,
No. If they choose to do so, then good luck to them, and that's fantastic for the people they employ. That's brilliant. But like small companies can't afford to be handing out 26 weeks of full pay and paying someone to replace them as well. Like, I mean, you have to be logical about this. You know, people make a decision to have a child. As you said, you save up or you plan it in advance. I had tried and nothing was happening, and then all of a sudden here she was on her way. But like I was planning I was buying Sudocrem, I was buying nappies, I was buying I had such a big supply of everything that it wasn't a huge shock then when she came along. And her dad was working.
Yeah.
You know, so most people have a partner that still has a full-time job. Okay, so maybe you can't afford to do all the...
Yeah, you can't afford the holiday. You might not be able to afford the fancy car while the child, while the baby's been born. So you have to cut back, cut your cloth.
You cut your cloth to suit your style. It's an old saying, but it's a true saying. And it's amazing what you can survive on when you have to.
Yeah, do you think people nowadays are just looking for too much?
Yeah, they want everything handed to them on a plate. And you can all kill me if you like, but I'm 63 years of age. I'm working part-time since I was 13 with my dad. And I appreciate everything I have in this life because I have to work hard to get it. Nobody hands it to me on a plate.
Yeah, there you go.
And the same thing when I had Jenny. I had 4 months maternity leave and then I was back to work. And it killed me to have to hand her up. But my mum and dad minded her. So I was very lucky in that I had them to take up where I was leaving off. But it was hard to go back after 4 months and this tiny little person looking up at you, you know.
Oh, some women are delighted to get back, by the way.
Listen.
I've spoken to women that said they can't wait to get back to work to get away from the baby. But then I've kind of looking at them going, well, then why did you have a baby for? You know?
No, look, I loved the time I had with her. And I appreciated even more the time I had with her when I was on my days off. And my parents were very good and I was able to do early from work. I was on the ground at the time when I had her first, so I wasn't flying. I was able to do early and I was home early enough that I could go to bed for 2 hours and then I'd go over and pick her up. And they were like, I was lucky in that sense, but I definitely budgeted to allow for the fact that I was only going to be getting whatever the amount was when she was born.
Okay, well, hang on a second, because Martin, how you doing? You're on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Martin?
I'm doing well. Good evening, now.
Good evening. Now, Martin, you believe that the state should pay more?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I know. I'll
262 is a fair amount of money a week, isn't it?
Well, it is a fair amount of money a week, but if you're someone that's taking home a salary, after taxes and stoppages and everything else,
700 quid, like
600,
yeah,
700, it's a big drop.
Of course it is, yeah.
Now, I'm a taxpayer, okay? Nobody likes paying taxes. I mean, let's be honest about it. We'd all prefer not to have to pay them. But when it comes to it, I would rather see my taxes being invested in the future of our children and the ability of couples, particularly married couples, stable backgrounds. And I don't mean to push against anyone. I'm just saying that. I would rather see them have the opportunity to have children so that those children are there in the future, for my pension, for the pension of my children. We invest in roads, we invest in infrastructure, we invest in all kinds of things. If we don't invest in the future of our people, there won't be a future.
I don't believe for 1 minute there are couples in Ireland sitting there going, we can't afford to get pregnant. I don't believe that. I don't believe that's happening. I don't believe there's any reason to even bring this conversation up because I don't think it's happening. The 262 is a decent amount of money for nothing when you think about it. And the idea that the state would have to pay out more money, I mean, we've a limited amount of tax, 65 billion or whatever it is comes into this country in tax every year. 20 billion of that goes in social protection already, which this would be covered under social protection. So we really couldn't afford to be handing out that kind of, I mean, what do you want? 80% of somebody's wage? 100% of somebody's wage? I mean, that'd be ridiculous.
You see, Niall, I'm not saying in the current situation. What I'm saying is in the principle that I apply. Okay, you mentioned, and we've had the conversation before, non-governmental organisations, billions every year, billions.
Yeah.
And what do we get for it, or what do the proposed or alleged people that are supposed to benefit from it get? What I'm talking about is the pot or the fund that's there should be better invested and spent. Because
but you're giving me the impression that by spending this money, we'll have more children. I don't believe we will have more children. I think people have limited themselves to 2 children. I think that's kind of the average in Ireland. Culturally now, that years ago was kind of 10 kids. Now it's culturally 2 or 3 at the max. I mean, that's just the way it is.
And there are a good many couples, Niall, who, because of social pressure and everything else, they've gone out, they've got their house, and they're in a position where if one of them takes a break from work, if they can't meet their mortgage, or if they get some kind of an agreement or a deal on their mortgage, they still end up having to pay that in the long run, and other things suffer financially. I mean, we haven't all been through it. I've been through it. I know what it's like to have children, and you didn't get all that material. Well, your missus didn't get all that, full pay on maternity leave. You worked it out. You worked it out. Absolutely, but we're talking between 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah, but people are still doing it now, and they're working it out.
Okay, but yes. Hang on a minute. If you're going to give all this money to pregnant or women when they've had their babies, something else has to give, because there isn't enough money to cover all these things. So what would you cut out instead?
But he just mentioned the NGOs, which I couldn't agree with him more, mind you. But then again, they'd have to be replaced with something else. Yeah, maybe.
Niall, why would they have to be replaced with something else? Well, there are NGOs in this country where they're duplicating the work of other NGOs, and really, point to me. Can somebody point to me, really substantial benefits that have come to us from NGOs? No, they're just a pain in the arse. They're a pain in the arse, most of them. Where are the benefits? Yeah. I've 63 years in this country. I'm not aware. I don't think I've benefited personally. What NGOs? I don't want to go too deeply into NGOs. We can have a whole topic on them one night. But what NGOs basically do for the government is takes the pain away from the government and the responsibility of dealing with a problem. In other words, like the housing crisis. Why do we have a government in the first place? Yeah, look, homelessness is like an industry in this country at the moment. Exactly. But that's a whole other conversation, Mark. But I do get the point you're making about NGOs. There is too much money into NGOs. $6 billion a year, by the way, into NGOs. Just to say, I absolutely agree. There is a limited pot. We have a limited pot. I'm not disagreeing with that. And I'm not saying that we should add more and more burden to the taxpayer. What I'm saying is our taxes should be spent, more judiciously. I would agree with you, but I still don't agree with handing out more money for people to have children. Sorry, Breda, maybe you do. If the money was there, Breda.
No, I don't. No, I don't. I think... as I said, when my lady was conceived and we realised we're having her, I had 9 months to plan it all. I knew how long I was going to be out of work for. I knew what I was going to be getting from the government every week. And I budgeted to cover that for when the time I was out. And you cut your cloth to suit your style. And if you're not on the road every day, putting petrol in your car, going into work, having to have lunch, whatever else, it's amazing what you can live off now. And especially when I absolutely agree. I entirely agree. I entirely agree with you. But the premise of my argument is, I know younger people personally who've gone to college. They've done things like art degrees. They've been paid for sitting around doing nothing. To be perfectly honest with you, I've paid for that as a taxpayer. They come out of college with their arts degree, and they go off and they do something else. Now, where's the benefit from that? Who's benefited from it? I certainly haven't. Have you? What I'm saying is... No, I paid for my daughter's college all through her college fees. I didn't get anything. I paid those fees every year. So she's entitled to do whatever she wants to do. And then if she changes... But you're missing my point with respect. What I'm saying is, as a taxpayer, you still paid for the art degrees and other degrees that are funded by the state through the Susie grants, I think I call them. If that's going to give children a lift up in this life and give them a leg up to get on in life, I've no problem with that. None whatsoever. But realistically, a lot of this, it doesn't. That's what I'm saying. These, there are college degrees which what I'm saying is... No, he's right about some of the college... No, well, hang on, Martin. You're right about some of the college degrees. There are kids out there who go to college just because their parents want them to go to college, and they'll pick an art degree because they can't decide what they're going to do, and they'll drop out after 2 years. It's of no benefit to them whatsoever. It's a waste of government money. It's a waste of everyone's money. Yeah, that's fine. And if that happens, then, Niall, they should have to do what they do in America. Pay it back. Yeah, well, maybe that's not a bad idea. Now, but hang on, both of you. Let me just go to Niamh as well. Niamh, how you doing? You're on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio.
Hey, Niall, how are you?
Oh, see, Niamh is going to bring a load of sense to this now.
No. I'm in a bad mood when it comes to benefits at the moment.
Oh, right. Okay. Have you been stung in work or something?
Well, at the moment standing here with a broken arm, and I have to fight to get anything.
Oh no!
Because I didn't.
How'd you break your arm?
Working.
How'd you break your arm?
In work.
Okay. Did you fall?
But yeah.
Okay.
And luckily, not luckily, I have a broken bloody arm, but I think I'll be entitled to injury benefit. But if it was sick pay, I wouldn't get a penny because I wasn't working 2 years ago. It's just, anyway, I'm in a bad mood.
All right, okay. Well, hopefully you get sorted, Niamh.
So you haven't enough benefits paid.
Yeah.
Enough stamps.
Yeah, stamps is how they call it. Yeah, that's a lot of shite, so that's stamp business.
I'm hurt now. And there'd be loads of people in my position, and I'm lucky because the other half works. I don't know what people do if they didn't. Be screwed. But I kind of believe, I agree with points both Breda and Martin have made. I agree with Breda that if a big company can absorb it, well and good. But if you start making this law, we're going to get back to yet another situation where companies are like, male coming for an interview, female coming for an interview.
Yeah. Oh, she's gone. Breda, are you still there? I think. Unfortunately, I just lost everybody there. Hang on, I'll get them all back on the line.
Amazing.
Oh, sorry, it's okay. I'll get you all back on the line. Hold on. Wait there for a second, momentarily, please, if you can. And we'll get you all back on the line. I'm looking here, for example, by the way, and there was research done from a recruiting agency going back some time ago. And there was some I'll play the voice memos now. There was and the recruiting agency, in relation to what Niamh was saying, and I get Niamh straight back in the air now, is that recruiting agencies under the counter, the employers were saying to them, we don't want women of childbearing age. Now, that's illegal, by the way, can I point out? But in saying that, they still did it anyway. There's also text here that says, now, if you're saying women should factor this in, why shouldn't small companies factor this in before they open? Why start a business if you can't afford to run it and accommodate all types of people? Ridiculous. We need women to have babies for so many reasons. It's not a burden. It's a gift. Feminist Sinead. Sinead, you're mad. You do realise that. You can't be opening a business thinking to yourself, can I afford to pay full pay to somebody who's not going to be here for the next, 6 months? Sorry, Niamh, back to you. Yeah, sorry. So, in other words, it's another, I suppose,
it's another
obstacle.
To beat women with.
Yeah, another obstacle. Yeah.
It could be seen as that, and I think perhaps, and this is sort of coming to what Martin was saying, perhaps they could do like what they do with, say, sick pay, which is if you earn X amount of money, you get X amount in your benefit. Earn X amount less, you get X amount. What they're basically doing is they're trying to keep you in the standard to which you were accustomed to working. So say if you earned €200 a week, you might get 120 from the welfare. It's less, but it's not a dramatic drop.
What blows my mind is hang on, Niamh. There was no such thing as maternity leave 30 years ago, right? Maternity pay, I think it was very minimal. How did people manage to do it for years before? Because the cost of living, in context, when we put things into context, was just as expensive 30 years ago.
I often think that people back then, I look at my own mum, I just think she was just so clever with money. She could make a packet of mints last from Sunday to Monday, the following Monday.
Was it pet mints?
Yeah, it probably was. There was that weird smell of it, for sure.
Do you remember your ma would send you over to the shop, to go to the butcher's, ask the butcher for a pound of pet mints? And you said,
or ask the butcher.
But we haven't got a dog. We haven't got a dog.
We haven't got a dog, ma'am. Shut up. You bet when you went home.
Jesus. If anyone's ever heard of pet mints, it's where they throw all the leftover bits of fat they cut off the steaks and everything, and they just throw it in the mince or make
There's
mince.
literally a film. When you cook it, there is this
froth.
Film of stuff on the top.
Yeah, it's like a froth, a scum on the top of it. The fat.
It's not even the pets.
It smells like
like
dog food.
It smells worse than dog food. But I think my dogs probably turn their noses up at it.
Pet mints. Sorry. I don't know what reminded me of pet mints, but go on.
I think women and men, I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know how they survived because they had more kids, usually. They had, maybe it's just that we have all gotten a little bit too used to certain things in life, like the holidays, 2 cars in the drive, Sky TV, stuff that we work hard for. 2
mobile phone bills, internet bills, Sky bills, Netflix bills.
Not just 2, like there's usually mobile phone bills for the kids too. It's like, I think we have become very, very commercial. We like our little luxuries, which is fine. We all bloody work hard enough for them. And when it's taken away and there's a cut in wages, it's very obvious. But it is still, it's not a long-term thing. Most women will decide because of necessity to go back to work after the maternity leave. So it's not like they're going to be living on that for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
It's short-term. And yeah, of course, people can save, but you can't always save. There can be situations where the baby comes along and you go, oh.
Yeah.
But...
Well, hang on. Let me go to Rory as well. Rory always makes a lot of sense.
Thank you, Niall.
We always disagree. We always disagree with each other, but he makes a lot of sense. Rory, would it be wise to be suggesting that companies must, or the state must, pay women, kind of full pay on maternity leave?
Most definitely.
Okay.
There's one very important statistic you've forgotten to discuss.
Yeah.
And that is, how much does it actually cost to raise a child?
Well, they say 180,000 for the first 18 years of its life.
Right.
10 grand a year.
A little.
Yeah.
Right. So a little at the start would go a long way for someone to pay your pension when you want your pension, Niall.
But we do give quite a
pay your pension?
Yeah, but we pay out quite a generous children's allowance in this country.
To the order of which value?
It's what's it, 140 per kid per month, isn't it, or something like that?
Right, that's 140. That's about for 18 years. Let's say 20 years. That's about 28,000. There's still 80,000 minus figure for the parents.
Yeah, I know, I understand, but it costs money to have a child. It's like, when you buy a car, it costs money to run it. You have to, if you want to have children, you have to factor that in. It's not some sort of God-given right, is it, to have a child?
But think of it as an investment in our future, in your pension payments. If you think of it that way, rather than saying, oh, I shouldn't give that to them, what good is it going to do me? Well, I'm telling you, it will do you good. Who's going to look after you in the care home or wherever or whatever? I mean, there's an awful lot of need for young people. We're an aging population.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think that's going to change, Rory, because even if the government gave full pay to everybody to have kids tomorrow, I don't think people will have more children. I think culturally we're having 2-3 children max.
And why is that?
Because the idea now is you want to have quality over quantity. Isn't that really the main? No, it's nothing to do with affordability. Because people had 10 kids 50 years ago and they couldn't afford it. So it's quality over quantity. And also, we now have a situation, over the last 35 years, where contraception is widely available. We lived in a country that was ruled by the Catholic Church where people didn't use contraception and they only had sex for procreation and reproduction. So that's all changed. That's why people are having less children. Do you really think Mary and Johnny in 1930 wanted 10 kids? No, they didn't. You know what I mean? They were just having sex and they just didn't use Johnnies. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, well, there was also a problem as well that women, once they became married, had to leave the civil service. But let's go forward, right, and say this is a strain on the price of houses now. The price of everything has gone up incredibly, and people don't don't realise that there's a tipping point in our demography. And things are going to get worse before they get better.
But it suits the government now that women are out working because it's twice the amount of taxpayers. Actually, do me a favour, stay there, Rory, because I need to go to Alan quickly before the break, and I'll bring Alan and Neve back on as well after the break too, because I think they're going to argue with each other. Alan, how are you doing?
You want to argue? Thomas?
Yeah, go on. What do you want to say to Neve?
No, I just say fair play to Neve.
You're agreeing with Neve's. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
it says on my screen, Alan giving out about Neve.
No, I wasn't.
Now, just be straight. Don't come on there and pretend to be nice to her.
No, I'm not. Neve, if she wants to sue, she should sue, right? But here, what was given out wasn't about Neve. Was someone like Neve who had worked for 2 years or whatever it was, right? Who hasn't got enough stamps.
Yeah.
We get absolutely nothing in sick pay, right?
Yeah.
But Tom, Dick, or Harry can walk into this country and be given medical card, you name it.
Oh yeah.
And that's the.
No, that is disgraceful. Neve, did you get a medical card? No, you didn't.
No, I didn't.
No. Yeah.
There you go. And she asked one now. She probably arrested and locked up for being racist or something.
No, you are right, and you are right that Irish people should be treated just as well as visitors who come to our country.
Yeah. He should sue if she has to sue. That's what insurance is there for.
Yeah. I know. No, I know. That was your moment, Alan? Is that just what you wanted to say? That was really it, was it?
I plenty saying, like, geez, now we could be here all evening.
Real people, real opinions, real talk radio. The multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.